And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the Valley of the Judged. I am your one and only gaming monk, better known as Mildra, and with me I have 3 of my good brothers here in the temple. We have the Master of the Fistiverse, good brother Joel.
If it's got a face, I'll fist it.
We have the man who has his own challenge and is always late and fig, good brother Doku.
I have unsolicited opinions, and I apologize for nothing.
And we have the man with way too much cursed knowledge, good brother Monarch.
And yet I have none off the top of my head now.
Yet.
It'll come midstream. I'll think of something.
That's what she said.
Let me adjust the volume a little bit. There we go. So, we are back once again with more of Vileborn. I am going to do my best to summarize things for Doku because he has to catch up because he is so late. He is so late and fig that he's 1 week behind.
Goodness. A new record.
I apologize for nothing. Probably. Maybe. Someday.
So, Vileborn comes to us from Horrible Guild, and is a noble dark fantasy. One that is heavily inspired by various coming of age fantasy novels. And one where you're kind of in a position where, as a Vileborn, you have the ability to contend against the darkness that is threatening the region, but you also are going to be looked at sideways by the people you're trying to save. That and the fact that you were basically conscripted into in order to fight said darkness.
Okay, why am I getting vibes of D. Grayman? Saying that's a bad thing. I do quite enjoy D. Grayman. This is giving me D. Grayman vibes.
Yep. Now that is a vast simplification, obviously, and the first when we covered the first chapter, one of the big things that stood out to us is that this is once again a game that is very blatantly upfront about what it is and what it isn't.
I like that.
And also what is expected of the players and GM when it comes to what this game is and isn't.
Again,
Yeah,
I like that and I appreciate it.
yeah, it's got a wonderful clarity to it. You know exactly what you're getting when you pick up this game, which is nice. It does what it says on the tin. So I've been really interested to dig into it a little deeper and see what the consequential elements of the rules are.
Yeah.
You know me, I'm all about consequential trade-offs, so I'm fascinated what they're taking, what they're leaving behind, and what that's going to do for the experience of play. So I'm really eager to dig in.
And it looks like each chapter is going to have these 2-page spreads, which is very nice.
Yeah, it's a beautiful presentation.
We have that for our character creation chapter. So we open right up with how to create a Vileborn. Every Vileborn is unique, yet they all share some things in common. 1, your background marks you. Whether you grew up as an orphan, searching for your roots, a noble weighed down by your house, or a wanderer with no homeland, your past has shaped you and still leaves its mark. Even now, with the Order of Dusk, where every recruit may seem the same, the shadows of your past do not fade. You carry who you were, even as every choice forges who you are becoming. 2, your dark heritage is a mystery. Your connection to the darkness is an enigma. Whatever strange powers or terrifying urges have awakened within you, their origin is a mystery only you can uncover. 3, you're searching for your identity. Many will try to sway you to dictate how you should act and what cause is worth your life. The mentors of the Order, the leaders of the Luminarian Church, even the most insidious of the reviled. But no one can truly define who you are. That choice belongs to you alone. Once again, clarity of purpose. If you're a PC in this, you are playing a Vileborn. Full stop. And while there's a lot of roads to that Rome, there are going to be recurring motifs. Because this is meant to be a coming of age kind of game. Now, obviously there's a way to skip the procedure and just go with one of the pre-gens. Though they do encourage reading through the background and dark heritage descriptions. We'll get to that. And those 3 commonalities also tie into the three pillars of character creation. Obviously, after grabbing a character sheet, the first part is choosing a background. Each background will give you 1 advancement in 2 approaches, 1 personality, 1 training, and 1 ability. Then your dark heritage. Each heritage will give you 1 advancement in 2 approaches, 1 personality, 1 training, 1 urge, and 1 gift. So there are parts where it overlaps, but it's not a 1-to-1. And then, as the final touches, obviously your name, optionally a distinctive mark, and also optionally a past event. And then we have an example of the character sheet. I do like the way this is laid out. With the example of Rafael de Nomante. You have the approaches up at the top. You have personality on one end. You have training on the other end. You have the conditions and wounds on the far end. Bonds, motives, your background and resources on one end, and your dark heritage as well as its gifts and urge at the bottom, as well as a act-based advancement you can see at the very bottom.
Yeah, it's a good blend of functionality and aesthetic. It looks really nice.
Mm-hmm.
The only problem is, like, it's clearly built for a character portrait in the middle, and, like, unless you're using a pre-gen or you're editing something online, I have a feeling that that's just going to be the little stick figures.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fine. I like that it kind of sets you up that it's going to be a fairly simple and straightforward system when you just look and see a very simple and straightforward character sheet like this.
Mm-hmm. And of course, after that, it goes into some of the further things, and then a sidebar about other game rules. In this chapter, you may come across abilities and gifts that interact with rules you haven't learned yet. Overall, everything should be clear enough. Just pick the options that inspire you the most. There are no better or worse choices. If you want more details, refer to the How to Play chapter. This is basically screaming at you. Don't try and, because of the fact that this is a narrative-focused game, don't try and optimize in that sense, because that isn't that. Pick based on based on character or vibe, not on what is going to give you the best stats, because, well, nothing's going to really give you that kind of benefit.
Hey, you thought you were coming in for escapism, and I'm gonna slap you with self-reflection.
But so first we get into backgrounds, which is basically what your life was before you got recruited by the Order of Dusk. Which, for context, Doku, the Order was established as a way to recruit, more like conscript, Vileborn into fighting against the darkness that threatens the land. And there is they're caught in between a tense relationship between the Crown and the Luminarian Church. It was a move that was enforced by the Crown. The Luminarians have had this black and white attitude regarding anything even remotely associated with the darkness. So they're in this weird position.
You know, I was kind of making a joke at first about escapism versus self-reflection, but if you can look at that and also incorporate a little bit of a power fantasy, that's not a bad template for a game.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like it.
I know some people might look at
kind of works.
Might look at this and think of the Xavier Institute and X-Men. I don't think that's a strong enough parallel, because the Xavier Institute, for all intents and purposes, is a privately funded organization. Now, if the institute was set up by the government, that'd be another thing, but that's not the case. Which is,
I guess that's the reason. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I guess that's the reason I brought up self-reflection, but also power fantasy, is because it kind of forces you to focus on your flaws while at the same time, like, how do I be a badass while also being a flawed person?
Mm-hmm.
It's, again, not bad. It's not bad game design.
Yeah.
I actually quite like the idea.
So it opens up by asking, who were you before joining the Order of Dusk? How did you live, and what lessons did you learn during your childhood? Your background has shaped part of who you are and how you face hardship. And they give a list of a bird's eye view of the backgrounds that are in the book. So we have believer, bourgeois, commoner, noble, nomad, orphan, and outlaw. Each background will increase 2 approaches by one die size. The approaches are the closest thing to core attributes. They all start at D6. Increasing one of them brings it up to D8. They cap at D10. You also get 1 personality trait, 1 training trait, and 1 ability. As far as choosing your background, they say there is no best background. Each one adds mechanical and narrative depth to your Vileborn. To pick one, go with your gut. If one stands out to you, follow that instinct. Think about life in the Order. The Order wants you to abandon your past, but your background will always be part of you. Discuss with the group. Picking different backgrounds give you varied roleplay angles, while picking similar ones can create tighter bonds. And then they go into... to each individual background. First with believer. You are raised in faith. Eh. And each one is going to let you pick one of 4 abilities. But I also like the sidebar we have, the choose this background if entries. For example, with believer, choose this background if you want to explore the conflict between sincere faith and rigid dogma. You want to understand the clergy's motivations for better or worse. You want to balance respect for tradition with a thirst for freedom. Or you want to question the true nature of your devotion.
That is a nice, I guess, how would I call it? Like a second layer of depth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a nice touch.
Yeah, the example personalities, there's a short list of, or you could create your own. And same thing with training. Training, you could look at as akin to skills in other games. These are things that you know how to do. And while you can create your own, I'm glad that there's at least a thematic guidance with each. And with each one, you're increasing the die size of 2 of your approaches by 1. In addition to getting the abilities. Now, when it talks about shame, advantage, fear, and the like, those are things we will get to as we go on in this series.
I do like that the bourgeois is right next to the commoner, and they use a little sickle for the commoner. It's fun.
Yep. So bourgeois, you increase reason and precision, and I do like that with bourgeois, it doesn't necessarily have to mean highfalutin nobleman, because it says you come from a family of artisans or scholars with a solid education and relatively stable life. So bourgeois doesn't necessarily mean noble born. You could just come from a loaded ass family.
Yeah, you got moolah.
Mm-hmm. Then commoner.
I too am well versed in the art of drinking.
Then with commoner, you come from a poor environment and have worked hard from an early age. Farmers, laborers, workers, etc. You increase your force and willpower by 1. Then with noble, you were raised among sturdy walls and frescoed ceilings. I like that the ring for art for the noble is instead of depicting a gemstone, is depicting a flower that probably is probably a gemstone to look like a flower.
It is obnoxiously fitting.
Mm-hmm. But I like that one of the abilities for noble is military discipline, i.e., if you came from a more militaristic part of nobility.
It seems more apologetic for nobility than just being a rich kid.
I mean, that does technically make sense, though. You're not going to have any like formal military training if you're just a peasant. You're cannon fodder.
Yeah. The theme with the noble background is the fact that even if you may have had certain privileges from your family name, the darkness doesn't care about titles, and nobles have to figure out what to do with that fact.
Ooh. That's actually a really interesting twist. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Then
look, homie, you might have like fancy titles and people around you might treat you a nice way, but yeah, darkness don't really care.
Yeah. I know it seems broad to say the darkness in that sense, which might get people to roll their eyes about cliches, but it is a perfect description of the threat that that is happening when it comes to this kingdom.
Right, and
Well,
there's nothing wrong with cliches. I want to be clear about this. This is a game that leans into the mythological, and frankly into the cliched. And there's not a damn thing wrong with that. We love cliches. We love when the hero is tormented by the darkness that they must fight.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that? That's beautiful.
Well, yeah, cliches exist for a reason. It's because they work across multiple genres, which again on this one is actually a really good thing because you're a commenter. Oh, the darkness is coming for you. Dude, I'm a commenter. My life sucks already. Like, do you think I really care about the darkness? Versus if you're a noble, yeah, the darkness would be a lot more terrifying.
But then we have Nomad, and the instrument here is this is something I do like. When games have musical instruments, but instead of just doing a one-to-one of existing ones, they do ones that are unique to their world. Like it would be easy to say, oh, this is just a violin, but or a cello, but not quite. It looks there's not enough strings for it to be a violin. And it's holding that like a violin would probably be a little bit unwieldy. It's also not big enough to be like a cello. It kind of reminds me of some of the string instruments that I see from Norse cultures. Like you look at this thing and it very much looks like something that was built from, you know, standard wood and horsehair. Horsehair was the more common thing to use when it came to making strings. But I couldn't see someone holding that like a violin, and I'm pretty sure it's not big enough to, like I said, it's not big enough to be a cello. As somebody who's lugged around cellos in the past.
You seem like the kind of guy they'd make lug around the cellos.
Yeah. That was the rib. Give the biggest guy in the room the biggest instrument. And I never had the issue that some cello players had about being picked on by the bully because I had made very clear I have a very large, heavy object and have no problem swinging it if you try to test me.
I was gonna say, worst case scenario, like, do you really want to pick on the person that's carrying around the large wooden instrument that could be repurposed as a bludgeon?
I
mean, if you want to, sure, hey, be my guest. I'm all for free entertainment.
Well, in this case, it was in the case, and somebody was trying to start something, and I said, I have something here I have something that is the size of you, and you want to pick a fight with me?
The only objection I would have is you're gonna have to wait at least 3 minutes because I gotta go make some popcorn real quick. So pause, and then let's get back to this. Also, let me get a folding C real quick.
Now that only happened like once, and nothing came of it because I pretty much had the attitude of you've probably seen that variation of the Gadsden meme of the snake holding a grenade going, I will end us all if you screw with me.
Yes, I have, and that is extremely appropriate, and I love it.
Oh. Plus everybody knew about the time where somebody did try that and learned very quickly that being volunteered for stretching practice is not something you want.
Well, also, you do, and I know this is off topic. I apologize for getting off the rails slightly. You do have to ask the question of what on earth is going through your head? there's no way you could possibly think this ends well, let alone in your favor. Hey, what are you doing? And why?
Well, a lot of people think, they can pick on the big kid because he won't do anything since he's supposed to control his strength. And I'm like, I don't care.
I was gonna say that's terrible logic. No. Like, I mean, I guess if you really want to gamble that badly, but you could just, I don't know, quite do anything else that involves gambling that doesn't involve getting the crap beat out of you.
Well, I think the only time it got that far, I ended up I won't say the only time, but there was one instance where somebody pulled it, and I channeled a bit of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. You remember the whole rules in a knife fight gag?
Well, you know what? I'll wind back my statement slightly. It's not even getting the crap beat out of you. It's just you couldn't find something that has better odds of you winning. Like,
we were all
why?
young and stupid. But
you know what? Fair point.
Getting back to the Nomad, these represent, traveling caravans, merchants, sometimes mercenary companies. Interesting that that's put in the bunch. They've seen travelers swallowed by the shadows and found shelter in welcoming taverns after days on the road. For them, home is not a place, but what they carry with them and the people they travel with.
I mean, I heard tavern. I'm sold.
You increase influence and subterfuge by 1. And, let's see, then Orphan. You grew up without parents, learning to rely solely on yourself as you survive with what little you had. Orphans were introduced to the world's harshness at an early age. Some grew up in strict orphanages. Others hid among the ruins of abandoned villages or in the shadows of sprawling cities. Without a family, they learned to fend for themselves, turning loss into opportunity and emptiness into strength. You increase willpower and subterfuge by 1 die size, and I am skimming through a fair bit, but it's a little tricky to cover abilities when they are calling upon mechanics that we haven't covered yet. But then we have Outlaw. You were a poacher or a thief or a smuggler. You were basically a lawbreaker at an early age. Which you increase precision and subterfuge by 1 die size. And yeah, each of the backgrounds has their own sense of theme. And I do like that there's advice given for each of them as far as narrative directions you might want to lean into if you're undecided about a particular background. Which, for people's first character, that's going to be natural.
Yeah, it's definitely useful for first-time players, but even if you're just looking over your options as a seasoned player, I think those are pretty useful. Because, I mean, you might see something that you haven't done before and be like, well, what's this about? It's a rare person that has exhausted all of the character build options in a game, that even the one that they really like. So, yeah, I think those retain a lot of utility.
Yep. But then we have the second pillar, the Dark Heritage. This describes your bond with the darkness. What powers awakened during your adolescence? What dark urge emerged with them? Your dark heritage is what separates you from ordinary people and makes you both hated and needed by the Agas Empire in the war against the Reviled. So I did a bit of skimming when it came to the backgrounds with the dark heritages, because they are tied specifically to this setting. I won't be doing as much skimming, but the ones that we have are the Bloodsinger. You feel the bloodthirst of vampires, and the powers of their cursed lineage flow into your veins. Claw Shrouder. The predatory instinct of the Pharaoh roars within you. You've inherited their strength and wild savagery. Fate Weaver. The Fae have given you their power to bend fortune and deceive the senses, but also a perilous urge to gamble everything. Ghostwalker. Your bond with the realm of the fallen lets you speak with spirits and cross the boundary between life and death. Hexbringer. You bear the mark of the Hexed, sensing looming disasters and commanding the tide of ruin and misfortune. Shadow Dancer. The shadows have chosen you. You can feel their hunger for fear and despair. You can control and shape them. And Wild Seeker. The call of nature and the might of the wildkin dwell within you, along with a deep rejection of civilization's chokehold on the land. I know it would be very tempting to look at each of these heritages as classes, but I feel like that's missing the forest for the trees. But each heritage grants you an urge, one gift. You increase 2 approaches by 1 die size and get 1 personality and training. So because of the combination of background and dark heritage, you can potentially have a die size that goes to D10, but that's the highest it's going to go. And once again, no dark heritage is better than others. So go with your gut if need be. Also, think about your background. Before becoming a recruiter of the Order of Dusk, you had a life. How was it affected when your dark heritage began to manifest? And discuss with the group. Having different dark heritages enriches the story and defines each protagonist. A group sharing the same heritage can instead explore its many facets more deeply. So, the first one we have is the Bloodsinger. Bloodsinger's urge is unquenchable thirst. It is a constant thirst they must battle every day. While they do not need blood to survive, their sharp fangs and predatory nature make them, in the eyes of many, indistinguishable from the immortal creatures to whom they are bound. The heart of a Bloodsinger still beats. They breathe, eat, dream, and yet every day is a trial of will, a battle to remain in control.
Oh, they got a real Vampire Hunter D energy here.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
Comparing them to Dhamphirs would be close to the mark, because it's clear that even though they have the legacy of vampires, they're not undead.
Yeah, they don't they could seem like they could stroll around in the daytime and that kind of thing. They don't have the full I am a creature of the night energy that like Dracula has.
I suppose another parallel would be Blade.
Well, he's a Dhampir. He counts.
Yep. He's not a Dhampir in the usual sense, but he is one. Once again, all the strengths, none of the weaknesses, except for the thirst. And there are 10 potential gifts that you have, and it looks like each one of them has a cost. So it isn't a case where there's a resource you're spending to use your gifts. It's a case of you use the gift and then you have to pay the price of it.
Yeah, modern 5th edition Vampire does something similar to that.
Where, like revealing pulse, you focus on the heartbeat of a subject. If they have one, you know whether they're telling the truth for the rest of the scene. However, the sound of their pulse may unsettle you. Roll a d6. On a result of 1, you suffer anxiety.
This is interesting. There's no 10th result. There's only 9.
I think it's a case if you roll it. Actually, they already say it. If you roll a 10, re-roll.
Why not just have 10 powers, though? I guess that's my question. It's like, well, if you're already rolling a d10, we'll just make it another power.
I think you and I answered that question regarding how just what seems like a simple change isn't.
I mean, fair enough, but like, that's what I would do as a game designer. like unless there's a compelling reason to only have 9 results, I would put in a 10th result. I mean, I know that's more design, but you're a game designer. That's your job.
I think one of the because of the whole act structure of advancement we'll get to later, I think that is a bigger reason.
Okay. Yeah, again, if there is a compelling reason, I'm fine with it. But that's my question. What's the reason?
Uh, but then they do go into your bond with the vampires and why you are not a vampire. Namely, you're alive, you don't depend on blood, you don't fear the sun, so we have that question answered, and your body has limits. Like tapping into your powers can harm your body because you don't have the resilience of a full vampire. And they also give suggestions for portraying the urge. I.e., with a marks setup. If you've got 0 marks, you feel in control, versus if you have 4 or more marks, the thirst is unbearable, the scent of blood overwhelms you, and you must summon all your willpower to keep from attacking someone. There's also some suggested prompts for yielding to the urge. And what I like about this is it's made very clear that this is something that the urge is something you always have to be aware of in some form. It's not something that has some magic off switch.
Yeah, it never quite goes away.
Mm-hmm. But
I like that. I like that because it means it's an element of your character that you have to actively choose and then actively play into. That's really nice. I don't like whenever you can circumvent what should be the essential dramatic struggle of a character. So the fact that they're like, yeah, it doesn't go away. You have to constantly fight against it. Okay, there, I'm on board. I know what I'm signing up for. Lovely. And again, this is one of those benefits of this being a narrative-focused game, is that they have that kind of theater kid mentality when it comes to what should be on this character's mind, how should they be acting, how should they be feeling, how should they show up in a scene, right? And I think if you have a more mechanical mindset, a lot of times you'll have this, how can I circumvent the negatives and get positives? A red mage outlook, if you will. If anybody who's still alive and not drawing a retirement fund read 8-bit theater back in the day. I'm sure some of you are still alive. We haven't all been claimed by senility yet, hopefully. But I like that. I like that they understand their strength, they design for it, and they don't design in such a way that it's possible to circumvent it. And you have to engage with the game. It's nice.
For me, I've been very consistent in the fact that if you're gonna be leaning into a narrativist-like design, guidance becomes all the more important.
Oh yes.
Which is why I'm glad that these example prompts are given. But then there's Claw Shrouder, which they talk about having the untamed strength of the ferals. These are basically werewolves. But I feel like there's that same thing of you have powers adjacent to werewolves, but you're not a full-on werewolf or a feral in this case.
This really makes me want to play like old school White Wolf games. but go on.
But
yeah, I guess all of them have powers in multiple of 9. That's fair enough. I do like that the edging around the page goes from this wonderful red from the blood guys to this kind of calming, shadowy blue for the werewolf guys. That's great.
One thing that's made clear is Claw Shrouders can control their form and urges, but each day is a test of will, especially since it says right above that, the hunting instinct that drives them is also something they must learn to fear and control. A voice whispers to them that humans are nothing but prey, and resisting it is an endless struggle. and their urge is hunting humans.
Ooh, that one's kind of grim.
Uh, and obviously you have the different gifts. One of them is the feral form, but this, once again, much like how making the vampire comparison with the last one isn't 100% there, there's some elements of werewolves, but not all of it is built around just the animal form.
Yeah, it seems more broadly to be yeah, because you got feral form, danger sense, you know, pack predator, voice of the apex. Yeah, it's all animal themed, but it's not like you are just like a diet werewolf. They give you a little more of the character than that. That's nice.
Plus, oftentimes when you look at werewolves in their human form, even in that human form, they don't look quite right.
Yeah.
You know, the werewolves that are built like a brick shithouse are built like a brick shithouse even in their human form.
Well, part of the reason we believe that, you and I, is because of the fantastic artwork of Ron Spencer in both Werewolf the Apocalypse and Werewolf the Forsaken.
I'm speaking in general.
I mean, but again, that guy's art is werewolves to me, right? And I'm sure I'm not the only one who feels that way.
Yeah. But then they go into your bond with the ferals, but also, much like with the last one, go why you're not a feral. Namely, you control the transformation, i.e., you're not triggered to transform by moonlight. You keep your mind. Though the call of rage may overwhelm you, you never fully lose control. You do not fear silver. And you are strong, but you don't have the raw strength and endurance of a transformed feral. And much like before, it gives guidance as far as the degree of effect when it comes to the urge, as well as prompts for yielding to that urge. But then we have the Fate Weaver. Who? This is Doku. This is the redhead you saw on the cover. Though I'm not sure if you'd want to gamble with him, and I'm not sure they'd want to gamble with themselves. But says, echoes of cruel laughter ring in every Fate Weaver's mind. The laughter of the Fae. Wicked and deceitful creatures who prey on human greed, offering seemingly favorable bargains that always carry a dreadful hidden cost. On one hand, Fate Weavers are gifted with the ability to manipulate probability, conjure illusions, and deceive the senses. On the other hand, they are cursed with an unhealthy compulsion to take risks and live in lies. Their existence is a gamble, a tangled web of cunning calculations and reckless wagers. The lure of chaos whispers incessantly in their ears. Even when they try to resist it, the world watches them with suspicion, deeming them unworthy of trust. Their urge is gamble with your own fate or that of those you love, knowing full well the wager will bring harmful consequences. That is an interesting way to do, and I'm not intentionally. I know it would be tempting once again, since we've been bringing up White Wolf, to bring up Changeling. I don't think that's applicable here.
No, there's a lot of takes on like the Fae and Changelings and what have you, and White Wolf chose the stupidest one. So this is objectively better than any take that White Wolf has ever had. I actually want to play these guys. Like, The Lost was pretty good, but frankly, it was very theater kid, and this actually looks like, you know, kind of a daring rogue sort of dude. It's a lot more interesting.
But much like with the rest, you're not a Fae. You have a bond with the Fae, but you have some differences. Namely, you have a human body. While you can alter your appearance, it has its limits. Your illusions are constrained. You don't have the same power of illusion that Fae have. Your transformations may confuse you. When you take on someone else's form, you risk losing pieces of your own identity. The old wilderness of mirrors. And you do not fear cold iron. Fae are vulnerable to this metal, but it has no effect on you. And you have a similar thing when it comes to the urge. Oh. Though I do like with there's always the question of why somebody who's a compulsive gambler would gamble.
There's a question about that.
In this, the vibe that we're getting is the thrill of risk.
Yeah, risk itself has a thrill to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just being addicted to an incredibly intoxicating dopamine cycle.
Yep.
I mean, like, yeah, it's good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, Ghostwalkers look pretty sick too.
Yep.
Man, this is great. These are all really cool character options.
So, Ghostwalkers exist on the threshold between the realm of the living and that of the dead. They can speak with spirits, learn from them, and even manifest them, but they are cursed to hear their endless pleas. Tied to the fallen, tormented souls bound by unresolved matters, they're often accused of being omens of misfortune, worshippers of the dead, or possessed by malevolent entities. Their habit of speaking to thin air or staring into the void makes them the subject of suspicion and fear. What truly isolates them is their detachment. For those that know death is merely a passage, every farewell becomes less final, every boundary more blurred, until life itself loses its clarity. Ghostwalkers are easily seen as cold, distant, even inhuman, but only they know the price of the truth that awaits all mortals. And their urge is obey the will of the spirits, letting yourself be consumed by their thirst for vengeance and their endless demands.
So it's kind of like being in a retirement home or in customer service.
And I know it'd be. This is one case where there isn't really a White Wolf-esque parallel that I can really think of. I know somebody might say, wouldn't this be similar to Wraith? No.
Nope. No, Wraith is so much more grim and awful. Like, the first edition of Wraith especially is extremely bleak and miserable. Mm-hmm. So, this is a lot more,
I'd say this has more in common with the whole walking between realms that you'd see a witch doctor do, or when necromancers are used properly and not just assumed to be evil by default.
I assume they're evil by default. They use vile magic. Evil. Default evil. No coming back. They must be smoten.
You know where the concept of necromancy came from, right?
Probably some sort of evil witchcraft, if I had to guess randomly, which I am, because I don't know forbidden things.
No,
Why would I pollute my mind with such things, Mildred?
Because you're in my monastery? Necromancy traces its origins to antiquity. It was a form of divination that specifically focused on the dead. A very
the dead and demons, eh?
A very early form was in like Greco-Roman times.
So the pagans consorted with the dead and demons, huh? Yes, interesting.
I didn't say anything about demons.
Well, yeah, but you don't have to look too far to see the Greco-Romans consorting with demons. Although they spell it D-A-E.
They also
it's a slightly different demon.
Well, not just slightly. They're completely different.
Modestly different. Small. It's like the Diet Coke of demons. Yeah, I think it's a completely fair and complete characterization of it. Differences.
Anyway. There are certain things that they can do that the Fallen can do as well. But they are not for. Well, here's the obvious part: they're alive. whereas fallen are disembodied souls tied to their past, basically the ghosts with a grudge. Uh, fallen are trapped in the living world against their will, but a ghost walker is in the world that they're supposed to be. They're also not bound with whatever keeps them tethered. And you do not fear saltpeter.
I mean, you can fear it for other reasons, but yeah, I don't think you would inherently fear it.
Mm-mm. And then we have the Hexbringer. So,
Hexbringer. Okay, what are these guys about? Is it demons? Do these guys
No.
have the demon powers?
No.
What do they have?
The Hexbringers carry a portion of their dreadful legacy of the Hexed. Followers and worshippers of the darkness who forfeited their humanity for the power to glimpse possible futures and guide events toward the worst of them.
Ooh.
Plagued by
So
constant
more in line
visions.
with hags, I guess.
Yep. Plagued by visions and dark omens, Hexbringers are seers who might try to alter fate, or instruments of a cruel destiny that solidifies the moment it is foretold. Branded as jinxes and shunned for their predictions, they live in tension between the burden of changing the course of events and the temptation to let fate take its devastating course. Their urge is to lead others toward misfortune, watching as they fulfill their worst possible fate. And that is very much their approach, especially with their particular gifts. A lot of them are tied to visions, or tied to messing around with fate, or inflicting misfortune on others.
All right. This one's mythologically a little more tenuous than the other ones. I feel like vampires and werewolves are pretty well trod ground.
Mm-hmm.
The Hexed aren't something I've ever heard of before. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying it's a little more specific to this continuity. This is a little more of like what I was expecting from a YA style game. So I'm not complaining here. I'm just kind of pointing that out.
Yeah, there are countless characters who have some ability of prophecy, and there's usually the tragic motif of the person who knows what's coming but can't do anything to stop it.
Yeah, what do they call that? There's a word for it. What's the prophet that can't stop being a prophet? There's a word for that.
Cassandra.
There you go. That's the one.
But they can cause curses that doom people. They can manipulate misfortune.
Yeah, this looks like a fun character to play. Also, they've got really nifty powers.
Yeah, but they are not hexed because they're not an embodiment of cruel fate. They can perceive it, even foresee it, but they don't necessarily wish for it. Their intentions aren't inherently malevolent. The Hexed twist fate to destroy, while you try to channel it to where you think it belongs. Your body is not corrupted. Your appearance remains human, while the Hexed bear horrifying signs of their transformation. Mutilations, unnatural deformities, and all manner of physical corruption, often self-inflicted. And you do not fear sacred symbols. Unlike the Hexed, you feel no hatred or revulsions towards wards or religious signs.
Very good, very good.
But then when it comes to the Shadow Dancer, let's see. Shadow Dancers are bound to the shadows, parasitic presences that nest in darkness and feed on negative emotions. For them, every shadow becomes an extension of their will, a tool to conceal, manipulate, envelop, or chill the blood. But Shadow Dancers must beware the insatiable hunger of the shadows. They are not easily controlled, and when provoked, they become violent and dangerous. Seen as heralds of the darkness, Shadow Dancers are openly feared and thought to be deeply corrupted. Yet they know the shadows would starve if not for the cruelty and misery of humanity, a truth no one wants to hear. And their urge is terrify humans, traumatize them permanently, and momentarily quiet the Shadow's hunger. And there is obviously messing around with shadows, but also things like draining heat, or eating negative emotions. Which is an interesting way to do this concept.
Yeah, this is another one of those that is pretty particular to the sort of YA new mythos kind of thing. Again, this joins the Hexed for me in terms of like a character that I would be really interested in playing, just because they look like they have a lot of really fun powers. Yeah, like Shadow Step is a good example. You vanish into your own shadow and emerge from another within line of sight.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. I think, actually, I think there's a Shadow Dancer class in 3rd edition that does something like that too.
There's been plenty of archetypes that have messed around with that kind of thing.
I think they're specifically called Shadow Dancers, though.
Pretty much, they were a popular one for a little while, until people realized the problem of mages just make everything irrelevant.
Well, that was a huge problem in 3rd edition. I don't want to go into it, but it was a big problem. But yeah, Tentacles of Darkness, Shadow Cloaks. These guys look like a lot of fun. They actually kind of give me an old school Nosferatu vibe. If you played a little bit of Vampire the Masquerade, they had all kinds of fun shadowy powers.
It was a nice trade-off from the fact that being a Nosferatu, you're going to be repulsive to even other kindred.
Yeah, you were real gross.
Oh.
No, Shadow Jump is what theirs was called. Okay.
Yeah. But you are not even though you're bonded with the shadows, you are not a shadow, because for one, you're flesh and blood. You don't have have that hunger to survive. You know, much like how the equivalent of vampires for the Vileborn has the urge to drink blood, but it's not going to starve them if they don't.
Yeah, they have an urge but not requirement. Mm-hmm. I like that. Actually, I think I like that a lot, and I'm sort of surprised because I'm thinking about it. I don't really know a lot of games that do that, where you have an urge to do something, but it's not a requirement for the character. Like, that's interesting. It's not super well explored space. And I think it really fits well in this one.
The approach I think that they're taking when it comes to the urge compared to the way it's done a lot is, think of it like a rubber band. Every time that you resist that urge, you are stretching that rubber band a bit. At first, it's not going to be as big of a deal, but as you stretch it further and further, the tension gets more and more in that rubber band until it snaps. And when it does, that's going to create that's going to make things a hell of a lot worse for that entire scene, I think, is the vibe that they're going for. So it's more of, you have to figure out how to keep it in check without becoming exactly what people think you are.
I love that, though. In terms of what they're going for with the tormented protagonists, that's absolutely brilliant. Mm-hmm. Again, we'll have to see how it develops, because again, these are all trade-offs. But conceptually, I think that's a slam dunk.
Oh yeah. And you can attempt to control these shadows. Appeasing them might quiet their demands, but you don't have to sustain them. And you don't fear Verloom. Shadows are vulnerable to Verloom. You're not affected. And then we have the Wild Seeker. Wild Seekers embody the untamed primal energy of the Wildkin, natural forces twisted by the darkness into something poisonous, malevolent, and deeply hostile to any human presence. Endowed with superhuman vitality, Wild Seekers are in harmony with the land, nature, and the elements. Yet this connection estranges them from the complexities of human society. The bustle of marketplaces, the masses of politics, and the nuances of social interaction feel suffocating, filling them with anger and unease. Their rejection of civilization is mirrored by civilization's rejection of them. To many, they are crude, dangerous, even inhuman. Wild seekers must live within society, but the more they are exposed to it, the stronger their temptation to tear its foundations down. And their urge is to devastate symbols of civilization or human beauty, reaffirming your loyalty to the wild.
I think I know these guys in real life.
Though, oddly enough, if I were to draw a more White Wolf parallel, it's not as extreme as in this case, but I think of the wild spelled with a Y in Exalted. Now, they are a far more extreme case than what we have here, but it is in that similar vibe where, you know, the wild, whenever they're in creation, the constant consistent shape of it feels suffocating to them.
Yeah, get a job, you hippies. Damn it, these guys have cool powers, though.
Yeah.
Earth Concerto? Damn, that's rad. You grow plants or vines capable of altering the structure of a building, either reinforcing it or weakening it. Your choice.
Yep.
That's cool. Damn it.
However, you risk yielding to nature's hatred for construction. Roll 1d6. On a result of 1, you make the structure completely unusable and harm anyone inside. If a Vileborn is inside, they suffer a wound.
Damn it, they're all cool. Wrath of the Earth, Might of the Mountains. Primordial Echo. Ooh, this sounds very Miyazaki. You harmonize with a natural place, receiving a vision and sensations that reveal its state and give a clue about what is happening within. However, if something dreadful is affecting it, you risk feeling the place's pain. Wow, it's Fern Gully. Roll a d6. On a result of 1, suffer a wound or a condition related to the place's state chosen by the darkness. I love the capital D, darkness. That's wonderful.
Yep. I guess I know it would be tempting to compare the Wildkin to druids, but even
yeah, they're far more extreme than druids.
I'd say more like skin changers.
Yeah, or like dryads or something, like something that's much more of nature.
Maybe to an extent, Radagast.
Yeah, I could see the comparison being made to Radagast.
Especially given the fact that Radagast was way out of the way of civilization. Constantly. He did not like being in basically any kind of settlement, if I'm being honest. And even the other wizards thought it was a little bit a few eggs short of a picnic. Which is saying something, because even though they don't outright say it, the wizards in Lord of the Rings are basically angels.
Yeah, that always confused me as a kid, because I was like, oh, they're just like old men with magic powers. Nah, they're like angels, I guess. It's a really weird mythology.
Yeah. But even though they are tied to the Wildkin, they are not one, because their nature is still human. They haven't been irreversibly transformed. They are not consumed by hatred. They have a strong bond with nature and a complex relationship with civilization, but they're not driven by blind loathing for it. You're not a primal force. Your strength, resilience, and connection to nature are powerful, but not as overwhelming as those of a Wildkin. And you do not fear fire. And hang on, I need to... Oh, hello bots. Bye bots.
Oh, jeez. The bots attacked, huh?
Oh, they attacked for like a second before they got nuked.
Kaboom. Farewell, bots.
But and then we do have, of course, the suggestions on the urge and yielding to it. Although I do like that it could be as simple as destroying something in a village, or even I like the second prompt. You intentionally cause political harm by undermining relationships between factions through antisocial behavior. But also, there's the fact that each of the dark gifts that we have, is tied to a type of adversary, but also each one has a clear weakness. So if we're dealing with Wildkin, I hope somebody has invented thermite by then.
Oh, jeez. I'm sure they could have figured out Greek fire.
But then when it comes to the final touches, they have a list of suggested names, both masculine, feminine, neutral, and family names, as well as potential distinctive traits. You can pick one category and roll d6, or make one up.
Yeah, I like that they have several lists of these: physical, mannerisms, speech. I love these, and this is also really good design because it doubles as something you can use for NPCs. Like if you need an NPC quickly, now you have this very useful list of names and traits you can use. Ta-da! It's beautiful.
Although I'd probably abuse the first one for speech. Your laugh is particularly contagious.
You have the opposite of that. Every time you laugh, I feel like throwing up.
You realize it's just going to encourage it, right? But
Well, see,
I end up getting flashbacks to the gig to why every theater director I've ever worked with would have a berserk button whenever someone even slightly giggled. Because one person starts, and it doesn't take long for everybody to start giggling, even if it's over the stupidest thing possible, and just completely break down rehearsal.
turns into man, especially whenever you're doing something on stage, though. Like it's so contagious on a stage. There's something about the particular energy of performance that lends itself to that kind of brittleness. Oh man.
Well, it's the reason why you see so many outtakes of somebody just cracking up at the most random things possible.
Yep.
It's because when you're in that level of focus, like your whole mindset is dedicated to that focus, and if something's off, the whole thing just collapses in on itself. And you can only hold that focus for so long. I think that's why a lot of and I have had confirmation on this. A lot of acting schools are trying to discourage method acting.
Yeah, I kind of discourage method acting too. It's not very professional.
Not only is it not professional, but there's just been a long history of method actors going off the rails, or worse. I mean, technically speaking, Jared Leto considers himself a method actor, and you've no doubt seen the stories about how he ended up pissing off so many people with his antics.
Yeah. I mean, like, actors don't really need a lot of encouragement to be egomaniacs. So telling them that they alone can tap into a sort of pure authenticity by being the most insufferable, self-centered centers of attention they could possibly be, that's not a good formula. It's not going to produce good results.
There's also the fact that some roles, it's like going into a well. You go too deep into it, you're not coming out. There, I have never been able to confirm this, but there's a story that's made the rounds that when Heath Ledger got the Joker role, Jack Nicholson contacted him and warned him not to go too far in, otherwise he wouldn't come out.
Well, Nicholson would know.
But after the distinctive trait, you have the other option of an event from your past. This could be the world outside the Order of Dusk itself, or bonds between Vileborn. It might be an interesting bit of chaos to have everybody at the table roll bonds between Vileborn and say that you have some kind of bond with the person to your left. I realize that's harder to do in a virtual tabletop, but it's an idea.
Yeah, I always liked stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you want something a bit more freeform, they have that option. So first, you would, instead of getting two die increases from your background and your dark gifts, you can instead just pick 4. This does mean you can pick two approaches to just go straight to D10, though based on the way this is set up, I don't think hyper-focusing on 2 approaches would be the best idea. I feel like this is encouraging variety of approaches rather than treating 1 or 2 as a dump stat, if you catch my drift.
Yeah, and I just don't think you should do dump stats anyway.
But when it comes to creating personality and training, which was brought up in the previous pages, I do like that they have some guidance on that here. Be
Traits
specific.
Like flawless, always ready, perfect, or real deal are to be avoided. Yeah.
So, fencing is better than fighting. History of Agas is better than culture. Also, be clear. Assessing could mean you have a knack for business or that you know how to assess your opponents. Survival means you can handle yourself in the wilderness, but it shouldn't apply to every dangerous test. And, like you said, don't cheat. Traits like flawless, always ready, perfect, or real deal are to be avoided.
Flawless. However, I think you could do, like, weight of expectations, where, like, you can just be really good at certain things, but, like, crippled by insecurity, so, like, they're double-edged things.
I think, if someone put flawless as one of their traits, I'd say, okay, what exactly do you mean by flawless? Which goes back to the whole be specific and clear.
Well, I like that flawless is right next to the picture of this lady breaking a mirror with her fist, while looking directly into her own reflection. Like, that's kind of great. Mm-hmm. That's what I want out of this game, right? Like, flawless should mean that you outwardly had to have, like, this impeccable poise. But, like, again, impeccable poise would have been a much better, a much more specific use.
Mm-hmm. Like, of the ones that they bring up as far as don't cheat, I think all of them, I think I'd ask them to be defined, because I could see how they could be used. Like with flawless, you could have the appearance of somebody who's constantly perfect, even if they're.
You could definitely do that.
Even if they're not. Always ready. I know that one might seem like it's a stretch, but I could see that as somebody who's always expecting shit to go down, even if it doesn't, and that pissing everyone off.
Well, just paranoid is so much better, right? Because you get always ready with the inherent drawback that, again, you're constantly on edge and pissing everyone off.
Mm-hmm. I'd say flawless and perfect. It's that same setup. Real deal. I feel like that'd be better. If somebody were to bring that up, I'd say maybe take the approach of excessively blunt. The person.
Mildra effect, huh? my jabs in.
Yeah. Oh. But that person who's going to be very tells it like it is, but is the last person you should have in any polite conversation.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna go that far, Mel, but okay, if you insist.
Oh. I
Oh
can
my
have.
God, did we already get to the rules? Did we do the whole section already?
Yeah.
My goodness. What a rollicking little adventure this one has been so far.
But like there, I feel like with personality and training, this I can say this for certain. This doesn't suffer from the problem I have with aspects in Fate. Now, I know some who certainly have a hate boner for Fate or for narrative-like games like Fate would say, "Oh, it's theater kid stuff. That's the reason why it sucks." No, the problem that I've always had with aspects is a lack of guidance. They have categories of aspects, but they never really go into detail about where the line between those categories is. Like, you look at Fate, it talks about the high concepts, trouble, and some freebies.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I have so many problems with Fate. Basically none of it works, and it's really frustrating that it got trumpeted as this like super RPG for the longest time when it is basically non-functional. I've never ever seen it function ever. Like literally I've seen dozens of people try. It's a mess. The economy is completely broken. Aspects are like unconscionably vague, or
I think the main time I saw it work was Dresden, and I credit a lot of that due to the fact that Jim Butcher is very hands-on with anything using his IP.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see it work with Dresden, but almost any other system would have been superior.
And
that's just the thing. It's just like Apocalypse World. Anytime I see that stapled onto an IP system, I'm like, oh, okay, they didn't put in any effort then. Okay,
well,
great.
If you're talking about the early entries in the third party for Fate or Powered by the Apocalypse, I could see that. But as time went on, you had a bit of a filtering effect happen, where the people who actually had a game design idea didn't just use the basics and then reskin a bunch of stuff like a lot of people did the first year of each. Like for example, despite it being a bit controversial with Apocalypse World purists, Fate Cult is using the skeleton of Powered by the Apocalypse, but it isn't slavish to that skeleton.
The original Powered by Apocalypse World, the very first Apocalypse World, has a lot to say for itself, and I think it's a game that deserves a second look. I don't like it on balance, but I do think it's got some pretty brilliant ideas in it. However, it's many clones. The ones that diverge the most from what Powered by the Apocalypse became are the only ones that are still worthwhile. And even those can't escape some of the like unsolvable issues that Apocalypse World presents from Thesis. So it's like, okay, again, I offer the same complaint to those systems. Sure, you can make a version of Apocalypse World that works really well for whatever thing that you're doing, and you could do that. It would almost always be served better by a custom system in almost every single case. Sorry, it's just not a very solid system.
Though I remember there's always going to be system forks. And in the case of Fate, I think the reason
both have designed whole games out of what are effectively system forks. I concur with that. But the benefit of both of our approaches is that we have a grounding in what an RPG is. And the problem with Fate and Apocalypse World is they fundamentally diverge from that. And those are problems you simply can't reconcile unless you're completely gutting the most unique and core aspect of both systems. So it's like, well, you could do Fate. Like, that what is that one? Base Raiders, I think, is based on Fate, but it really wants to be Dungeons and Dragons, right? With a superhero system. So it's just an utter mismatch. And they do a lot of design that makes it a pretty fine game, but there's no reason they should have started with Fate. It's just completely the wrong thing to do.
For me, the reason why Fate was my whipping boy was the issue of guidance, and specifically the issue of, and this is a problem I've seen with Fate, to a lesser extent Apocalypse World, and with stuff like Candela Obscura I saw this as well. An over reliance on the savviness of the table. Again, that guidance thing is I would say guidance is the hill I will die on, but if I'm on that hill, you're giving me a perfect crow's nest as far as being a sniper. I'll probably also have the pathway to the hill littered with mines. You think, oh, it's a hill. That's an easy thing to assault. And then, oh, landmines.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. Just again, I don't want this to be a screed against other games because we're here to talk about Vileborn, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the reason that we're on this is because we're talking about elements that are really, really similar to Fate's aspects, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I share your worry that even with this guidance on page 89 here, I don't know that they're going to be able to have the cleverness to escape all of the pitfalls of Fate and the aspects of Fate. Like, there's a bunch of known problems with this approach to role playing, and again, this is where
you can only go so far as a designer when it comes to addressing those issues while still leaning into narrative. So at some point, it is going to come down to the GM.
True, but that's exactly my point. Requiring constant spontaneous rulings within the bedrock of your design is bad design. It was bad design when Fate did it. It's bad design if you take that from Fate.
Yeah.
Right? And if that's your assumption in your game, congratulations, you've caught a sort of RPG design herpes, right? You're never going to get rid of it.
But I don't foresee that being a problem here for
Sure.
a couple.
You've read deeper to this than I have.
Yeah.
I've not even began to read the actual.
A big reason I don't see that as a problem here as much is due to how, for lack of a better term, grounded what this game is trying to be is. It
doesn't seem like it's straying very far from a very fundamental way of running things. I'm kind of.
It isn't trying to be a kitchen sink.
Mm-hmm.
It is built for a specific thing and built around that specific thing and nothing else.
Yeah, it looks like pretty friendly, simple mechanics, and it also looks like you can do things that you would suspect would work, and they will work.
Yeah.
That's a huge green flag for me, you know? So,
and
it doesn't seem like it loses itself in the story gaminess of trying to control a shared narrative with this fiat resource thing that Fate got into. That's what really killed Fate for me. There was this weird resource economy that allowed you to share a narrative, but some people had a different interaction with the economy, and it was all based on vibes. It was a really awkward system in practice. This doesn't seem like it's doing any of that bull. It's just like, no, just play your characters just like a normal world RPG.
That and
nice.
This isn't trying to be a universalist approach.
Yes, that's another thing that is hugely in this game's favor. Universalizing any system, it generally destroys it. Like, I don't want to say that, because GURPS exists, right? But here's the thing. GURPS is an in-joke of RPG recommendations, because, yeah, it can on paper do anything, but at the end of the day, you're always playing GURPS, right?
And I know some people will bring up Savage Worlds as far as universalist, but even Savage Worlds can do a lot, but it is it is always going to have a skewing towards pulp
Mm-hmm.
because that's what it was built with in mind. You know, the tagline was "Fast, Furious, Fun" when it came out. Oh, but one thing I will point out when it comes to the whole create your own personality in training is they make clear personality is expressed through adjectives that reflect who you are. Training is defined by verbs or nouns that reflect what you've learned to do.
Yeah, very, very good stuff there.
Mm-hmm. But obviously, right after that goes into the rules proper, which we won't cover tonight.
Yes.
Oh.
This is the part I'm really interested in. I want to dig into this.
But what do you guys think of what we've seen when it comes to character creation? The whole act of creating a Vileborn that we've seen here.
So while we've been going through it, I was actually just kind of quickly putting together a character from all these, just to kind of see how easy this was or how quick.
Oh, that's rad. Yeah, tell us about it.
So I kind of just went with what it suggested, like, hey, just go with what you're feeling. Like, the first thing I saw when I saw Noble, I was like, all right, a noble who's suddenly forced into the more dark side of society, I can dig that. I went ahead and just went military discipline on him, tactics for the training, refined personality. Then as soon as I saw the heritages, my thought was, I read Claw Shrouder, like, okay, immediately got the Jekyll and Mr. Hyde right here.
Oh, that's sick.
Like the refined, noble, tactical, but he's just trying to suppress that I'm gonna shred you all to pieces type thing. I kind of noticed there's a lot of different ways I could have gone just at a glance. So this creation, you're not short for options. It is simple. There's a lot of things you can do. And at no point did I feel like there's like some ideal thing to pick. Now this might change when we learn a bit more about how the mechanics work. But this is a very quick system, very easy. And you get a lot of options.
Mm-hmm.
Not as many options as some of the really big games, but for something a bit smaller and simpler like this, I am very happy with how smoothly the creation went.
And if you were to, obviously you didn't do this, but if you were to stopwatch yourself as far as how long it took you to make a character, would you say it'd be 10 minutes?
Probably not even that.
And obviously, I'm not gonna pull out a stopwatch to make a point, but
yeah, this was a very quick and easy process from this bit.
Mm-hmm.
If you want a game where you can just like pick up, show it to someone, and you can just get going quick,
mm-hmm.
This so far looks like a really good system for that.
Oh yeah. Oh, I was gonna ask what Doku thought, but Doku is had to bail over a phone call.
It happens.
These things happen. And
the record, I think I might try doing this more often as we go through character creation now that there's 3 people on rather than just like me and Mildred.
Mm-hmm.
That way we actually get a little bit more insight into how it actually works putting a character together rather than just fantastic. Reading and shrugging your shoulders.
Oh yeah,
it's legitimately fantastic.
Mm-hmm. But I'm trying to think if there's any major nitpicks I have when it comes to character creation, and the ones that I could come up with are so scraping the bottom of the barrel that I don't think they're worth it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say this.
The only thing. Oh, go on.
I'm not gonna say it's perfect. It's just any problems that I have are ones that are either too contextual or just really specific to the point of not being worth it.
The only thing I might be concerned over is you are on paper getting very little from each choice. It does say that as the game goes on, you might eventually start picking up more gifts.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it would be a good idea to give you a second one to start with rather than just one. just so you have a few more options. I'm not sure how founded that is quite yet, though.
Mhm.
Maybe with this system, the smaller number of options right off the back will be enough.
Yeah, especially since there's having too many gifts would result in needing to have extra pages for the sheet.
Well, as I said, it mentioned you might pick some up as the game progresses anyway.
Yeah, if you look at the bottom of the sample character sheet earlier in the chapter, you'll see a checklist for advancements. One for the first act, one for the second act, one for the third act.
Yeah. True. A quick note, though I don't think it'd be too much, but again, I don't know if that's actually going to turn out to be a big deal or not. It's just a potential concern.
Yep.
I think we're going to be fine with just what they give you at the beginning.
But that being said, when we come back on this in about a week's time, we will be delving into the rules proper. It is going to, I can say for certain it is going to be a case where you're not going to be dealing with huge dice pools. I'd say the kind of die pool you're going to be dealing with isn't far removed from the size of die pools you see in something like Savage Worlds, which usually you're only rolling 2 dice in that case. So if I know some people really want to roll the pounds of shiny math rocks, but this isn't that game.
You love the shiny math rocks, Mildred. I do love them. And my love for Exalted has polluted my ability to enjoy small die pools forever. If I'm rolling less than 15 dice, I just feel naked.
If I could get away with rolling every single dice I own in a game, I would do it.
Those bricks of D6s and just throw it directly onto the table.
Yeah, now you gotta buy, and now you just broke the table and you gotta buy me a new one.
Yeah.
You break it, you buy it.
I mean, fair enough. Your new table will have 6 sides, each of which will be emblazoned with a number between 1 and 6.
And then we'll do an endurance test by putting you through it like you're a Buffalo Bills fan. Or like it's a wrestling show. Maybe break out the lighter fluid and put you through a flaming table. Best case scenario, you have one of those Japanese tables that don't break.
They don't break? This feels like another different conversational hole we could fall down. In any event,
yeah.
Do we have any other thoughts about the game so far?
I know you and I made some White Wolf comparisons early on, but
they're pretty hard to miss. But I don't know. I don't know if they're entirely fair. I really feel like they're doing their own thing here.
There's some surface level parallels just because of the whole gothic like tragedy of characters in both games. But
I'm sure there is some inspiration drawn from Vampire the Masquerade.
There probably
it's
is.
There.
And the kind of things, and keep in mind, the film that inspired Vampire the Masquerade was a coming-of-age story in and of itself.
Yep.
Oh.
Now,
That, of course,
I'm still kind of into camp. I don't think this is a game I personally enjoy sitting down to play. But it seems well put together so far.
Mm-hmm.
And if you wanted something with a somewhat similar vibe to Vampire, but we're looking to simplify the experience a bit, I don't think this would be a bad choice to go to.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. But with that said, we'll be back here next week, and of course, I'll be back here tomorrow, finally, with more of Veil of the Eternal Night. So keep an eye out for that.
Hell yeah.
But until then, on behalf of the good brothers present and not present, my name is Mildra. I am your gaming monk. Stay fucking Frosty, everybody.